This program is brought to you by Project Success Ministries International. The content, views, and opinion are the sole responsibility of Project Success.
Well, praise the Lord, and thank you for joining us for another edition of Project Success, Taking It to the Streets. I'm your host, Apostle B.
And I'm your co-host, Senior Pastor Jolly.
And as always, my friends, we like to start our broadcast off by sharing with you the need for us to be here and the reason why we're here. And that is because we love God, because we appreciate this opportunity to share the good news of Jesus throughout the world. So in saying that, we do have a show prepared for you. And so we're going to give space right here for Pastor to share with us what we're going to be looking at, what we're going to be seeing when we take it to the streets.
Today we're going to be covering Togo, Africa. We're going to be going over some of the outreach work that we've done there, that we are doing there, as well as the clinic that we've identified. We've also identified a doctor, a local doctor there that is willing to work within our clinic, providing services to the people there. But what we need your help in, we need your help in acquiring medications, medicines, simple things, penicillin, antibiotics, yes. Just, things that they can receive, the flu shot, things that they're dying from. They're dying from infections, simple infections, cutting of the feet, and it's becoming infected, and we just need your help to aid us in helping them. So whatever God puts on your heart to send or to donate is greatly appreciated. Speaking to you, the pharmaceutical companies that may be scanning across us.
Absolutely.
If God puts it on your heart to bless us, to help us, something that you've already rolled off or you're writing off, or something you just want to give, hey, we will definitely document and prove where the medication is going. For any of you that donate to us, if you watch our show, you're going to see it being used. I'm excited for today's show. We're going to be continue covering Apostle B's book here, Reversing the Curse of Fate. I'm ready.
Okay.
Let's begin.
Okay, I'm excited about what God is doing in the earth, and excited about the show today. So on last week, I think we finished up talking about the curses that God imposed on Eve, and we talked about the 3 curses. Mm-hmm. And so at this point today, we're going to pick up on curses pronounced on Adam. And there were 3 curses that he pronounced on Adam as well. So in the book, in Genesis 3, first of all, Genesis 3, you can follow along with us. Genesis 3, 17 through 19. In the 17th verse, God imposed a curse because Adam listened to the woman and ate the forbidden fruit. So because of this, because Adam listened, and because Adam was disobedient to what God had instructed him to do, this is actually the place where sin entered into the world. Not through Eve, but through Adam, because Adam was the one that was given the commandment. He was the one who was disobedient to what God had instructed him to do. So in this verse, we see that God pronounced this curse. God cursed the ground. He cursed the ground. Adam was disobedient, sinned against God, and he was punished for that. God cursed the ground because he disobeyed him. he now must work the land according to the word. Go back and we don't have time and space really for us to read all of it, but go back and read this 17th verse. It's outlining exactly the curse that God imposed on him. He now must work the land. I'm reading from the book. He now must work the land for food all the days of his life. So it is in stone. So we're not gonna get from underneath this curse. We shared when we first began this series. We shared that we oftentimes referred to curses imposed by God as permanent curses because they are permanent. There's no way out, no way around, no way under, no way over. God cursed you. God cursed the situation. God cursed the ground. It's cursed indeed. And it's cursed until the end of his life. Adam was cursed. So this was not the case in the beginning. God provided all that we needed. You know, the ground was not cursed. The ground was productive. It was fruitful. It provided everything that man needed in terms of food and nourishment. But now it's cursed. The ground itself is cursed. Now he has to labor to take care of himself and his family. He's going to labor according to the word of God by the sweat of his face or the sweat of his brow, meaning that he's going to have to work hard. He's going to have to do physical work, manual work, whatever kind of work in order to provide for his family. That's a curse. It wasn't originally. It wasn't initially. Man was not cursed initially with that. God provided everything for him. Notice this, that man was cursed. This was a curse imposed on Adam, not Eve. The curse is for Adam, the provider, the one that was responsible to be obedient to what God had instructed, what he had commanded him. So when he did not do that, he was cursed. He's the one to provide. He's the one to go out and work. It's not to say, now I'm going to let Pastor, I'm going to be quiet right here because I do want him to expound on that. He does it so greatly. We're not saying that man only has to work and a woman is not, able to work, or she's not to work, because the woman is the helpmate. She's the helpmate. That means that she does and equipped and anointed to do whatever is needed to assist, to support, and to improve the life of the man. I mean, they are, the two is one. They're one, they're not one flesh, but they're one spirit, according to God and how he perceived it. So, the reality is that the woman, I think, Pastor, I'm going to let him tell us, but he said last week or the week before, how God created women so uniquely. And I really liked it, how he put that into simple words, simple terms that we can understand, that he made us so uniquely, not for us to be puffed up, not for us to be arrogant and haughty and high-minded. Look, I can do this, I can be the man and I can be the woman. Listen, God created you with all of those attributes and all of those great qualities because he knew that man, the covering, man, the one that he put in charge in an authority over the creation, he knew that he would be in areas flawed. So where man was flawed and areas was imperfect, was not perfect, the woman, the helpmeet, was able to stand in the gap, so to speak. So she was able to wherever she needed to, wherever she, how they put it now, fit in, wherever you get in or something. She was able to do that because God created her to be what is needed for him. And so we can see this displayed now. So before we get to the third curse, I was trying to get to all three, and then I'm gonna let Pastor. Let me just do that. Let me just get to all three, and then I'm gonna let him loose, okay? So let me say this, that once again, there was no labor, the ground was not cursed, it produced as it should continuously. It was no botched up crop or no bad harvest or any of that. God created his land and his, the trees and all of this stuff. They was just perfect. Everything was perfect until Adam sinned. And so now the land is cursed. The ground is cursed. And then man himself is cursed. Now he has to work. And once again, the thing that I want us to remember is that this curse was imposed on Adam, not Eve. Not Eve, but Adam. Adam was the one to work. Huh? Now, we got some creative ways that we do that now. And it's not to say it's one right way or wrong way. Some men stay at home, that's working. They stay at home, cook and clean and whatever. That's working. So whatever works for you. That woman still is the helpmate. She may have to go out and make the money, but that don't give her the right to feel that she's superior to the man, because she's not. She's still simply a what? A helpmate. So she's anointed to be and do what she needs to do. So now, the last curse, and we're going to be real quick so we can get in with the pastor. The last thing, the curse, was the curse of death. Listen, God cursed man. The curse of death, it brought in not just the physical death. That was not a part of God's plan. The plan was for us to live with him forever and ever and ever. So he didn't bring us into the world just to impose a curse for us to die. But it was necessary. I heard Pastor say that in earlier broadcast, that it was necessary for him to do it this way, since man sinned, and he knew man was going to sin, but he wanted to set it up to where we were going to be perfect. We were going to be able to have this perfect relationship with him. We were going to be able to live forever with him in paradise. We were going to be able to glorify him and praise him forever. And we were going to have the right mindset, the right heart. Everything was going to be right by his plan of salvation. So that's what it's all about. Now, this last curse was the fact that man was going to die. He imposed the curse of death. Before that, there was no death. And remember that the whole thing, and I'm going to, again, the whole thing about this is that the plan of salvation is the whole plan of it, the whole goal of salvation is to get us back to this place, this original place that we were in, or where we were spiritually before the fall, to get us back to that place with God, a place where we can live forever, because salvation gets us there. That if we are a believer, we will live. Although we die, this curse will happen. We will die. We will go back to the ground. But the good thing about salvation is that we will live again. And we will live forever and ever and ever. And God's original plan will come to full fruition in our lives. We'll get back to that place where we were in the garden. In saying that, come on, Pastor.
You guys, I want you to stay tuned.
Oh.
I'm gonna say this before we go to commercial. We shouldn't surely believe that the tree had the knowledge of life and death, or good and evil, as they say. We can't surely believe that that tree appeared when Adam and Eve were created. That tree was already there. And this is just how smart God is, how how brilliant and magnificent he is. He knew Satan, Lucifer, before. He knew Lucifer was going to try and betray him. He already knew. And he knew that it was just a matter of time, and how powerful God is. Wow. And I don't want to get too deep because I want to save it for when we come back. So I know I'm skipping about a little bit here, guys. But I'm giving you just enough to leave you on the ledge a little bit.
Okay.
But I'm gonna explain what I mean when we come back, because we have to know that God is so powerful. He's so all-knowing that although the devil thought he was trying to trick man, God was using the devil to bring us closer to him. And if you really think about it, that tree was already there. God informed Adam and Eve to stay away from the tree. So he brought it to them. If you really look at it, we'll be back. Stay tuned, we'll be back.
Don't go nowhere. And we're back, and as you can see, we do need your help. One thing that was not mentioned earlier that you may have seen, not sure whether we had footage of it as of yet, but the orphanage that is a part of the whole community complex that we've purchased, that we've acquired there in Togo, Africa. Please pray about providing warm blankets or beds, anything that you can donate. Your donation of $20 or more would help them with warm blankets, with a bed to sleep in. Just $20. So pray about being a blessing in that way. And we certainly would appreciate that. Now, Pastor, back to you.
Okay. Like I was saying before we went to the break, God knew before he created man that man was going to fall. He had already placed pieces to our relationship back to him in motion. He had already set these pieces in motion, from Eve being deceived to Adam joining her in the deception, to the curses. If we pay attention to the curses, they're necessary. Even the afflictions that we face today leads us to a higher power. Even seeing in some cases, and in Project Success, for those who aren't familiar with what we do, we serve all different types of populations, from homelessness to domestic violence victims, to drug addicts, to runaway homeless youth, to international services as well, clinics, and feeding the hungry and spreading the word of God. We do a lot, but I said that to say this. Oftentimes, people find a longing for what they call a higher power or God in times of crisis. And if a person could live forever and there wasn't no worry about tomorrow, people would grow bored with belief. Everything is handed to them. It's, God knows us so well that the way that humans are engineered, he knows that sometimes a little pain is necessary. The sweat of your brow makes you appreciate the meal much more when you dug the hole for the vegetable to grow. He knows that the evolution of mankind was going to happen. That's why I started out saying before we went to break how brilliant God is, because he knew that in giving us free will, we were going to advance as a people. We were going to advance our minds, our intuitiveness, our innovation, our creations. We would create and innovate different things. So what are you saying, Pastor? I'm saying that all of it, even the curses, were necessary. Although we are not happy about the curses, but with a limited time, knowing that our time is limited here on earth, it makes us want to work harder towards achieving the goals while we can. If we did not have to worry about tomorrow, we'd be so slowful.
Yes.
Really.
Absolutely.
The wealthy are often obsessed with immortality because they've already achieved what they believe is success. Our definition of success as Christians is having a relationship with God, you see, and achieving, the goals he has, his will for our life. So, giving us humans the ability to die was a gift, more so as a curse. We just have to change our perspective, because although our spirits are leaving this, although our spirits that are housed in these bodies will no longer walk the earth, they'll live in heaven forever. They'll live with God. They'll be in glory. But the access we can tap into spiritually, that we can display through our physical sense, and this may be we may have to go part 2 with this, but I want you guys to hear me. Just, if you really go there in your mind and really search the deepest parts of God and say, well, I kind of see what you did there. I understand why we have to work. I understand why now we have to die. It's necessary. Because oftentimes greatness is inspired through death. Where would we be if Martin Luther King had sacrificed his life? Where would we be without all of these great patriarchs that laid down their life for the Bible? Death was necessary. It had to come. Jesus had to be able to die. Death had to become legal. Key word.
Wow.
Death had to become legal. The spirit of death was illegal in the beginning.
Yes.
It didn't say. Like I said, we're going to have to do a part 2 maybe of breaking it down a little deeper.
Yes.
But it had to happen this way. These curses had to come about in order for us to be able to appreciate the relationship with God that we have now. Because it'd be a million I go to church tomorrows if you don't have to worry about death.
Yes.
I can go to church tomorrow, I go to church tomorrow, I go to church next Sunday, I go to church next Sunday.
Yes.
But when you know that your life is in a state of disarray, and you know tomorrow isn't promised, there's a different sense of urgency to develop a relationship with God while you have time.
Absolutely. That's good.
That we have to understand how God he operates outside of space, time, and matter. He operates outside of what the laws he created for these human bodies to operate within. So I'm gonna stop there. And when we come back next week, I'll talk a little bit more about it. And in earlier episodes, I kind of talked about it a little bit in sense, especially when it comes to Adam having to work. It was so much deeper.
Yes.
Because man had to be accustomed to working, so therefore they would be accustomed to hard work, what it takes to build some of the luxuries we have today. The cars weren't just spoken to existence. God gave the idea to man. God gave the drive to build, and consistently. You think the first car was a success? No, it was not.
That's right.
That man stayed up countless nights working by the sweat of his brow. You hear me? That we have to understand the type of God that we serve. But like I said, we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But yes, Apostle.
Okay.
These curses, although we may not want them, but they were necessary. They were as important as the promises. The curses were as important as the promises, because God uses everything.
That's right.
Even the bad.
Absolutely.
So,
okay, I know that you enjoyed how Pastor just dissected, this discussion, and I'm going to look forward to it. I hope that you join us on next week to give opportunity for Pastor to share more about this subject of curses. So in saying that it is time for us to go, we've come to that part of our broadcast, but know that we are continuously praying for you and for your outreach projects and for your obedience and your consistency and your patience in outreach. So don't forget when you bow to remember us in your prayers as well. So until next time, same place, same time, we'll see you.